everyone, welcome to Wake the Future. So I am putting on my kind of journalist hat today, and I thought it would be fun to ask Jared just a handful of questions. I actually have exactly 10 written down right here. Just kind of a look under the hood, a little bit about what makes Jared Jared.
Well, I
Are
mean,
you excited?
This will be a lot of fun. I mean, I think you know what makes me me. I would hope so after 26 years, but this will be fun for everyone out there. And please don't worry, there is a companion piece to this where I'm going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing for Erica. But to keep this fun, I haven't even seen these questions, so who knows what she's going to ask me.
I mean, and I actually don't know the answer to a lot of these. Some, I think I have a pretty good idea, but others, I have absolutely no idea how you're going to answer them. So, all right, let's
juicy.
start. I mean, these aren't like big out there questions, but so.
I need my beer for this one.
So obviously you're a futurist. We know this. But if you weren't a futurist, what would you want to do?
Ooh, that's a good question.
They're all good questions.
You know, look, the fact is, growing up, my entire childhood growing up, I wanted to be a sportscaster. I wanted to be like a TV commentator. And I wanted to call games, basically. You know, I would simulate them in my bedroom or in the living room when I was a kid growing up and pretend that I was simulating an entire baseball game with all of the active rosters at the time. Then I did it with basketball on my over-door hoop. Probably drove my parents crazy. But I always wanted to be a sportscaster. And, you know, when I was applying to colleges, I applied to some of the best broadcasting programs in the country. The one I really wanted to go to, I did not get into. And another one that I was interested in going to, I did get into, and I sort of had to make a decision. And I ended up veering away from that. And, you know, there's
going to the University of Rochester where you met me.
There's a little part of me, like I think with anybody who has like a childhood dream, there's a little part of me that feels like I left something on the table and I probably would have felt so, you know, fulfilled going down that path. But on the other hand, I ended up at the University of Rochester where I met you, and life has been amazing. I mean, the greatest thing that could have happened, and also several of my best friends, and had an amazing experience that steered me in a direction to where I am today, and I'm really, really, you know, proud of that. So the fact is, everything happens for a reason. I have no regrets, but yes, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a sportscaster, and who knows? I mean, as we launch something like this, maybe in a year or two, I'll pivot from this a little bit and have a second project where I start riffing about sports and the other things I'm really passionate about. And we might have a lot of fun with that. So anyway, that's kind of what I thought I was going to be doing if you had talked to me when I was like 12.
Yeah. All right. So what is one thing that people would be surprised to know or learn about you?
Surprised to know or learn about me? That's a tough one. I don't know. You know what? Let's come back to that one. I have to think about that a little bit. That's like when you bring someone up and you're like, what's your special talent? And you're like, I don't know if I have one. Something they'd be surprised to learn about me. Let's come back to that one.
All right, we'll come back to that one.
I'm going to parallel process and think about that one.
So this one I think I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life on repeat, what would it be? It's kind of like if you were on a deserted island and you could take one song with you. What song would it be?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's some great candidates for that. You know, a couple of times
what's in the running?
A couple of times when I've gotten on stage to give a presentation, I'm sure you've had this too. Every so often, a creative event producer is like, we're going to give you entrance music. And I wish they would all do that, because like, how much more fun would it be to get in front of a business audience after getting amped up? And I always have trouble with this question, because it's like, what song would I want to come out to? There's a handful in my mind that are like the one song that I'd bring with me to a desert island kind of thing. But as you know, I'm really into hair bands. So most of the obvious answers are going to be something from Def Leppard, something from Bon Jovi. I know. Like, that's the thing. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm basically stuck in a time warp, at least when it comes to my music. Mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s. So, Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi.
Follically and vicariously through these bands.
Living follically vicariously through these bands of my youth. I love these guys. But, you know, Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi is an obvious one. In fact, you and I basically met over that song in college.
Yeah.
Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard, my favorite band of all time. But my choice for karaoke often So this is part of a surprising thing about me, because, I like to walk around and be like, oh, look at me. I get up there, do it for karaoke. One of my favorite songs of all time is the glorious ballad Hungry Eyes from the movie Dirty Dancing by Eric Carmen.
I think you actually just answered question number 2.
That's it. What people don't know about me is I do have a softer side to me. There's like that little yolk on the inside of the egg. And so I listen to a lot of 80s pop. I love Dirty Dancing soundtrack. Eric Carmen, Hungry Eyes. That is my karaoke choice usually.
True or false? Boom. Did you show up to our wedding hoarse because you sang that the night before?
Well, no, so the night before our wedding, I went to karaoke with my buddies, and one of your friends actually joined us. She'll remain nameless on here, but she held it down with all of us. I sang way too many songs the night before our wedding. So when I actually had to read our vows, funny story, I barely had a voice left. But you know what? All this many years later, it actually makes for a good story. Yeah, Hungry Eyes was on that list. Take Me Home Tonight by Eddie Money was on that list. I probably sang a little Richard Marx, a little Chicago, a little Rod Stewart. So that is my soft underbelly. But anyone who really knows me knows that I'm a hairband guy, first and foremost.
All right, so we got questions 2 and 3 answered at the same time.
There we go. That's what we do here. We roll them together into one.
Yes, all right. So you know that we love to travel. One of our favorite things to do is travel, take our son on great trips. And of all the places that we've been, what is your favorite and why?
Ooh, this is another tough question. You and I have seen a lot of the world together. We've been blessed to see a lot of the world together. It's been one of my favorite parts of adulthood, and it's one of my favorite parts of our relationship. And so this is a tough one because I'm going to be leaving out a lot of places that are amazing. So let me give you an answer and then some honorable mentions. Answer will probably be Japan. We were there, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. I thought Japan was absolutely amazing. Not the least of which because our son, who was 6 at the time, just fell in love with the place. And so it was so gratifying to bring him across the world and see him lose himself in Japan. But I think if I had to sum it up, the thing that made me really love Japan was the fact that it was simultaneously totally exotic and other side of the world, and at the same time, very familiar. I felt so comfortable there. And the intersection of tradition and history and really cool history and architecture in a place like Kyoto, and even to a certain extent in Tokyo, with all of that kind of Blade Runner, Ridley Scott type of feel in Tokyo. What the future, everyone thought the future was going to look like in the 80s or 90s with the broody, kind of rain-soaked streets, neon signs. I just love Japan. And of course, if I had to give some honorable mentions, and I know I'm leaving stuff out here, I love Peru, I love Turkey, I love Italy, and of course, we've been to Iceland 3 times, and that's a really cool spot. So there's kind of my short list there. Yeah.
And bucket list. What would be number 1 on the bucket list?
Bucket list. All right, I'd love to go to New Zealand. I just think New Zealand, especially for you, because it has no deadly species of snake. So we could go into nature like we love, and you don't have to worry about encountering anything crazy. It's supposed to be one of the most beautiful places on earth. Yeah. I would obviously love to go as a family to see the pyramids of Egypt. And I'd love to go on an African safari because we love nature, and I think that would be the trip of a lifetime. So let's put those 3 up there.
Yeah. Solid bucket list places. Yeah. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit.
All right.
And kind of go deeper under the hood, I guess. And you hear that people get their inspiration from different places, different things. So for you, where do you draw sources of inspiration when it comes to new content, your work as a futurist, or even just you in general? Kind of what is your place of inspiration?
That's a great question. I don't know if there's a single answer to that. Let me answer that 2 ways, because I like to get creative in answering these questions. Let me first start by where I'm trying to increasingly get less of my inspiration from. And we talked in one of the other episodes about how this past year, I've tried to undergo a little bit of a digital detox and stop doom scrolling so much because it was putting me in a negative headspace. Yeah. Part of the reason I'm able to do this project now with you is because the fog has lifted. So I'm trying to draw less inspiration from the digital world. Related to my answer for the last question, I draw a lot of inspiration, I think, from my environment. I love nature. I love I didn't even put it in I was trying to get creative about all these other countries we've been to. I love going to the national parks of the US. They're some of the most untapped resources we have right next door. And, just being out in nature and hiking and just kind of being out there, I think gives me a lot of inspiration because what it allows me to do is calm down. It allows me to quiet my brain, disconnect, and then tap into some of the wisdom I think I have in there that may not be coming out when, I'm going 100 miles an hour, or like when we used to live in New York. So yeah, kind of being out there, being in nature. I also love working out. I love fitness. And the more that I can kind of get into a flow there and feel like I'm one with my mind and body, the more that I feel like I can kind of lock in to a lot of those thoughts that might be kind of sitting there in the subconscious.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so kind of as a segue from thoughts and thinking and the places where you think, go back to kind of your past self. And we're not talking like energetically, we're not going to do like a whole thing. But like if you were to give past you, like past Jared, young Jared, a piece of advice from what you know now and your life experience, what would you tell him?
I mean, you say young Jared, I feel like we're watching an episode of Young Sheldon, or that this is like Marty McFly going back and encountering himself in a time paradox.
But it's just like past you.
Yeah, I would tell him to lean into his greatest sort of, his greatest skills, his greatest tools, like the things that he was kind of given. To not shy away from, I think, some of the things that he is or was best at, and to lean into them.
Yeah.
I got some good encouragement growing up, but I also, at certain points probably could have gotten more encouragement from certain people in my life. And as a result of that, I think that, over the course of time, I went a little astray or doubted myself in ways I probably shouldn't have. And the reality is, I feel like I probably should have stuck to my guns and gone down a certain path, almost linked to what I said before. I really wanted to be a sportscaster. Probably could have made it happen, but certain things got in the way. Ultimately, it led to a place where I am now, which I am so grateful for, but I still would have given him the advice of be a little more self-assured, lean into those talents that you've been given, and see if you can make the most of it.
Yeah. So, projecting forward.
Yeah.
What advice would you give future you?
I don't even know what future me is going to look like. Clearly,
and why?
When I was much younger, I didn't realize that future me was going to have no hair and live where I live and have the life that I have. So it's hard to project that. But future me, I would tell future me to please ground yourself, because you tend to get caught up in your feelings and get a little hot-headed, and continue to do your best to shut off the noise from the outside world. Digitally detox, whatever that's going to look like in 20 years, because it's going to evolve from where it is today with AI and all the other stuff we talk about that we nerd out on. Make sure that you ground yourself and create your own space so that you can preserve your own sanity for yourself and for your family and be the best version of yourself. I think I'm going to have to remind myself of that kind of thing almost on a daily basis from here on forward. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's an easy answer.
That resonates with it. I mean, as someone who has a lot of mental chatter, and this, sometimes it keeps me up at night. Other times it's just, the occupier in my head. As someone who just, again, like has so many internal dialogues, I get it. Like it definitely is a practice of mindfulness to just quiet a lot of that. And I think the more that, we can be in lockstep with some of that and kind of check each other for future Jared and Erica.
Yeah.
I feel like that's great advice. Okay, so let's kind of keep digging in there. Obviously, so much of Wake the Future is because we're doing this as partners and as parents. So for you, how has being a parent changed your view of both your work, like your approach towards work, but also your view more generally about the future?
I mean, it's changed me fundamentally in almost every way. Yeah. And I have to be careful when I answer a question like this, because before I was a parent, and I think you'll probably understand this in your way, I used to hate hearing from parents. They would almost I feel like they were talking down to people who did not have kids, or who made the choice not to have kids, as if they understood things better. So I don't view it as better or worse then. I have to start that way.
It's different perspective.
It's just that it has given me a different perspective, because once you have a child, two fundamental things happen, in my estimation. Number one, you have someone or something now that is more important than anything else in your life. So you have a different level of responsibility, like your place in the pecking order. Like you are no longer superordinate to everything else. But in a way, you're more superordinate because now you have something that relies on you, so you have to take on an additional sense of importance and responsibility. Yeah. So it changes everything in terms of your frame of reference. Like nothing's more important than our son. You and I both agree on that. He's the center of our universe. I make no apologies about that. People who want to be tough and be like, oh, you got to treat your kid like, he's an idiot. Like, no, I mean, it's our child, and that's everything.
Yeah.
Then there is the playing it forward aspect of that, which is he's a kid. He is going to have more runway if everything goes according to plan in his life than we do.
Yeah.
He's going to experience more of a future from this point forward than we are. So taking what we do as futurists and de-intellectualizing it and making it more about, now I care more about what's coming ahead because it's going to impact him. It's one thing when it just impacts you and you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'll be able to handle certain things. I'm equipped to do that. And I'm only going to live a certain amount of time beyond now. I mean, I'm, creeping up to 50. But when you think about an 8-year-old, it's like, man, I really have to think more carefully about where the future is going, because I hope he has 100 years of runway, maybe more in front of him. So that to me is the most fundamental part of it. And it just changes everything. It really does.
It does.
And I think it's made me a better person. I think it has leveled me. It has made me kind of balance my emotions a little bit more. And it's been wonderful. It doesn't make me better. It just makes me different, and I'm happy about it.
All right. So, one of the things that we have tried to instill in him is something we've talked about in other episodes, which is the whole idea of learning how to fail, right? It's like kids today really need to know, in order to equip themselves for the future, how to fail. Like failure is such a critical piece of childhood going into adulthood. Yeah. So as you looked at areas of your life, I don't want to say that you failed in, but it's like, how have you learned from failure? Yeah. And how have you used that to kind of shape your thinking around what we do for work?
I mean, I failed over and over and over again. And, I don't always outwardly announce that to people. It's like when you go on social media, you want them to see the best version of you. You don't go into a public space and announce it. But, I failed a lot. And, there's two elements to that for me. I mean, one is, it sounds cliche, but it's learning to fail forward. Okay, you failed. Yeah. What can you learn from that can propel you to do something better or different? That's kind of where we are right now. Like, we're doing Wake the Future in part because part of me's been stuck in the mud for the last few years. Right. Part of my story here, part of the thing I want to be more public about, and I think other people would be served if they got more comfortable doing this themselves, is forming communities around having humility and saying, life has not been perfect. This bullshit I put out on social media all the time, I mean, yes, that is a fundamental component of my life and all the great times, but it is only one facet of me. Yeah. And I'm curating that. So taking that, being open about it, and then failing forward. The other for me is just, again, learning to navigate my emotions. Again, I'm a very run hot kind of guy. I always have been. And I had to coach myself from childhood into early adulthood to try to tamp that down a little bit. So now I have to learn to manage my frustration. I think I've done that. In the last 15 to 20 years, I feel like I've done a better job of managing my frustration, my anger about certain things, and turning negatives into positives. It's just reframing. It's reframing your mindset, optimizing. And again, I don't think I'm perfect at it, but I think I'm better at it now than I used to be.
Yep. See, that's something that you would tell your past self.
Oh, man, absolutely. I'd have some very interesting conversations in that time paradox, and then it would blow up the universe.
All right. So 2 last questions. The first is, because I want to end on the good one. What keeps you up at night when it comes, not in life, but just when it comes to the future and things that you hear out there, things that you're thinking about? Yeah. Like, what are you scared of?
I mean, again, I'm just going to be honest about this. And so this is what some people might consider to be the cynic in me.
We're sitting in front of our fireplaces.
As we launch Wake
no
the Future. Zone. But it's pretty much everything. It's everything. Like, I objectively am concerned about a lot of things as we think about our son's life and what's happening in the future. Yeah. If I can microdose that would be, I think that social media has led the planet very much astray. And I don't think that we have created a guidebook in the last 20 years to help course correct for that. I think it is doing significant damage to different generations, and that's going to keep trickling up. We're degrading the planet significantly. I mean, and I think humans only have some role to play in that. I think some of it is beyond our control, but at the same time, there's a lot that I worry about with the future of this planet. And I worry about whether or not we're just going to have a habitable planet, geopolitically, technologically, and environmentally, 100 years from now. I do generally worry about that. And artificial intelligence, but I think it can solve a lot of humanity's problems, or it could destroy humanity. We're going to be at multiple inflection points. Yep. So I don't know where I shake out on that. Basically, it's a lazy answer, but I'm worried about a lot of things. It doesn't mean I think that there's one definite outcome. I just think that the more that we're awake, talk about wake the future, the more we're awake to a lot of those things, the more we can actually proactively put up guardrails and have the right conversations about them. So that brings us to where we are now.
It's not a lazy answer at all.
So that's it.
Like, it is a very spot on view. And the fact that there are a lot of threats and a lot of kind of immeasurable and intangible threats, that it's only natural to think about them. Okay, so let's obviously flip it and end on, right, drum roll, the last question, unless there's anything you're dying to answer, which is, what are you optimistic about when it comes to the future? Like, what are you pumped about? What are you seeing? What are you, like, jazzed about?
Yeah, I mean, so the counterpoint to what I just said is, again, there's no predetermined outcome. I mean, maybe there is, but we don't know that. We're not evolved enough as humans to know that. So there are all of these possibilities. I think that humans have always proved to be remarkably adaptive. So there might be some kind of mass evolution of consciousness in the very near future. It might already be underway. With all of the darkness that we're in right now, that you see out there when you go online, it might be that we're kind of going through a birth canal. And that through this tunnel comes the brightest light ever, and there's going to be a real push forward in consciousness. I have to think that's going to be the case. This is also the most globally interconnected humanity has ever been. Technology does facilitate a globally connected human consciousness. So then we do feel a little bit more of a shared destiny with people who are on the other side of the world. And you see it when you travel. So I get inspired by the fact that people, despite counter movements to try to shut people into their little areas, I think generally there's a shared consciousness, and that has a chance of pushing forward into something really cool. We're obviously exploring the limits of getting out there into the universe. And I think that those possibilities are really cool. I'm actually personally excited about the awakenings around whether or not we've actually had communication with alien forms of intelligence or might in the near future, because I think that instead of scaring me, a lot of people get scared by this stuff. I actually think that it could actually, again, propel humanity forward into a really interesting future, because the level of innovation is so exponential and crazy. I go back to an episode that we recorded recently where if you would stop the clock in 1875 and showed someone images of what 1950 looked like, they would have thought they were reading something out of like Star Trek or science fiction novel, a story that they couldn't even imagine. But then if you stop the clock in the middle to late 20th century and fast forward to now, everything almost looks the same, because all of the innovation is happening almost in a two-dimensional or digital space. So at the end of the day, we're only constrained by our imaginations. And so I think that there are a lot of amazing things that could happen. I think AI is going to potentially help with quantum computing, all this nerdy stuff, potentially solve a lot of our intractable problems, cure a lot of diseases, solve a lot of materials challenges we have, maybe lead us to new horizons in areas like genetics. This stuff is mind-blowing to me. So again, you take the really possibly bad and the really possibly good, and you end up with this supernova of craziness that I think we're going to try to slice and dice about 0.1% of that in what we're doing going forward.
I know, but I love this so much because what you said is so spot on, and I think a perfect way to end, which is the fact that we are only limited by our own imaginations.
Yeah.
And we are only limited by the stories that we tell about the future.
Right.
Right? It's like we can tell very kind of self-defeating dystopian stories, or we can really stretch our imaginations forward.
Yeah.
And just like what we always say, the future will require us to ask the questions that matter. The future will require us to tell the stories that matter. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of do this mini episode too, because it's about telling those stories. It's about telling the stories about the future, but it's also about telling our why and our stories, and just, give all of you a deeper look into why really we are doing this and just what makes us us. So thank you for joining this little interview. I hope you had fun.
Hey, by the way, you have quite a skill as an interviewer and a moderator, and you've done some of that in your career, but you generally get on a stage and you talk. But your ability to kind of facilitate this, I mean, it's part of why I love you and why we're married. But you're also very good at this.
Thank you. I guess if you asked me question number one, if I wasn't a futurist, I guess I would be a moderator and a charcuterie board maker.
You'd definitely be a charcuterie board maker. But what's great is I loved how you wrapped that up by talking about telling the right stories. I mean, we're sitting here in front of our fireplace,
having an
and
actual
I think
fireside
about how
chat.
people used to pass stories down, folk stories, like by a fire. And that's kind of what we're doing here in the year 2025, 2026. And so I just think that Yeah, really, really cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And by the way,
So
this is going to happen in reverse. I mean, I don't know which order you're going to watch these in, but we're going to do the exact same exercise with Erica, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, have fun thinking of questions. All right, you guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll see everyone soon.
Let's wake the future together.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, like, follow, and subscribe to stay ahead of what's next. I'm Erica Orange.
And I'm Jared Weiner. Thanks for waking the future with us. We'll see you next time.